There are episodes of Las Fierbinți that make you laugh until your stomach hurts. And then there are episodes like Excursia, Partea 1, which make you think long after the laughter has faded. At first glance, it's a simple story about a group of friends taking a trip. But underneath the jokes and mishaps lies a deeper commentary about the Romanian spirit, the illusion of escape, and the quiet heroism of ordinary life. The village of Fierbinți is not just a backdrop here, it is a living organism, breathing with the rhythm of its people. The dusty roads, the chipped fences, the slow gestures of villagers leaning on wooden gates all serve as visual poetry. The episode begins with Bobiță standing outside his bar, watching the same scene unfold for the 1000th time. His expression reveals what many viewers feel, the strange combination of comfort and suffocation that comes from living in a place where nothing ever changes. Then Gianni arrives, full of manic energy, with the grand announcement that he's organizing a road trip. His excitement feels contagious, almost childish. The others, Celentano, Dorel, and Ardiles, react with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. They've heard this before, but something in Gianni's tone convinces them that this time, maybe, it will be different. The first part of the episode unfolds with the kind of humor that Las Fierbinți has mastered, the humor of preparation. Every Romanian viewer can relate to the absurdity of over-planning a trip that will inevitably go wrong. The men argue about snacks, fuel, maps, and who gets to drive, as if they were preparing for an expedition to Mars rather than a few kilometers outside the village. The dialogue is fast and chaotic, full of interruptions and mock insults that only friends can exchange. What makes it brilliant is not just the comedy, but how naturally it exposes each character's psychology. Gianni, forever the dreamer, sees the trip as a symbolic act of freedom. Bobiță wants control, but lacks direction. Celentano seeks meaning in nonsense, while Dorel is content just to be included. Together, they represent a spectrum of Romanian mentality: the dreamer, the pragmatist, the philosopher, and the innocent. As the group finally departs, the mood shifts subtly. The car moves along winding country roads, and the laughter fades into thoughtful silence. The camera captures long shots of open fields, broken fences, and isolated farmhouses. These images feel almost painterly, like memories of a childhood road trip you can't quite place. The soundtrack hums softly, an acoustic tune that underlines the feeling of nostalgia. You realize that this is not just about getting away from Fierbinți. It's about remembering what it means to move, to feel that the world is wider than your village, even if only for a day. Of course, in true Las Fierbinți fashion, nothing goes as planned. The car breaks down halfway through. The men argue, blame each other, then laugh about it over a bottle of homemade plum brandy. This moment of failure is where the magic of the show lies. Excursia, Partea 1 turns setbacks into opportunities for reflection. When Dorel says, "Maybe the car didn't stop, we just didn't know where to go," the line lands as both joke and revelation. It is a truth hidden in simplicity, a line that perfectly encapsulates the existential humor of the show. The characters aren't just lost on the road, they're lost in life. But somehow, that's okay. Visually, this episode is stunning in its modesty. The cinematography captures the essence of rural Romania, the contrast between golden sunlight and gray melancholy. There are long pauses where the characters just stare into the horizon, and those silences speak louder than any joke. One can almost smell the dry grass and hear the buzzing of summer insects. This attention to sensory detail is what elevates Excursia, Partea Y, from mere comedy to something approaching poetry. The brilliance of this episode also lies in how it handles time. Everything moves slowly, but purposefully. The jokes don't rush. They unfold like the rhythm of rural life itself. The show respects the pace of its world. There's a beauty in that slowness, a reminder that not every story needs to hurry toward meaning. Some meanings are found in the waiting, the pausing, the observing. And in this way, Excursia, Partea Y, mirrors life in any small Romanian town. Days that blend together, punctuated by brief bursts of chaos that become legends retold over drinks at the bar. The group eventually manages to fix the car with absurd improvisation. Celentano's solution involving tape and divine intervention is both ridiculous and endearing. They drive again, singing loudly and off-key, their laughter echoing through the empty road. But there's a tenderness in those laughs. It's the laughter of men who know life hasn't given them much, but who have learned to make the most of what they have. It's a kind of defiance against despair. Halfway through the episode, the script introduces a scene by the roadside that feels almost surreal. The group encounters an old man walking alone, carrying a bag of bread. He greets them, asks where they're going, and smiles when they say, "Just somewhere." His response, then, "You're already there," is another example of the show's quiet genius. The humor of Las Fierbinți always hides wisdom, and moments like this turn the episode into something universal. Everyone, at some point, goes on an excursion to nowhere, hoping to feel alive again. As evening falls, the tone grows more melancholic. They finally stop at a meadow, eat whatever snacks survived the journey, and stare at the sunset. The light is soft, golden, forgiving. Celentano starts telling one of his absurd stories about a cousin who saw a UFO, and everyone bursts into laughter again. But behind the humor, there's a sense of peace. The trip didn't change their lives. It didn't take them far, but it gave them what they didn't know they needed: a shared memory, a pause, a reminder that friendship itself can be an escape. One of the most beautiful things about Excursia, Partea Y, is its ability to balance comedy and emotion without ever becoming sentimental. It trusts the audience to feel without being told what to feel. The episode ends not with a dramatic revelation, but with a quiet return. The men drive back into Fierbinți, exhausted, dirty, and oddly content. The village looks exactly the same as when they left, but somehow, for a moment, it feels new. Maybe nothing changed, except the way they see it. The closing scene shows Bobița turning off the engine and saying, "We should do this more often." It's funny because everyone knows they won't. Yet somehow, the thought is comforting. From a thematic perspective, Excursia, Partea Y explores three main ideas: the illusion of movement, the sanctity of friendship, and the acceptance of smallness. It shows that even the most absurd people are capable of genuine emotion, and even the most ordinary day can contain quiet meaning. The character's inability to truly leave Fierbinți becomes a reflection of how people everywhere are bound to their circumstances, by nostalgia, fear, or habit. But the episode doesn't judge them, it celebrates them. On a personal note, what makes this episode unforgettable is how it captures the texture of Romanian humor, that bittersweet laugh that acknowledges both the absurdity and beauty of life. Watching it feels like sitting with old friends, talking nonsense, but somehow touching on profound truths. I remember a similar trip from my own youth, a short drive with friends that went nowhere, that broke down halfway, and that I still remember years later, not for what happened, but for how it felt. That's the essence of Excursia, Partea 1. It's about presence, about being with others, about realizing that even a failed journey can be beautiful when shared. Compared to other episodes in the series, this one stands out for its quiet rhythm and introspection. There's less slapstick, more contemplation. It's as if the show itself went on an excursion to a softer, more poetic side of humor. It reminds us that laughter doesn't always have to be loud to be meaningful. Sometimes it's just a smile shared in silence under the same sky that has seen it all. By the end, the excursion becomes a metaphor for life in general. We start full of enthusiasm, get lost, break down, laugh, cry, and end up right where we began, but maybe a little wiser, a little lighter. That's the beauty of Las Fierbinți. It tells us that the road doesn't have to lead anywhere to be worth traveling. And that's why Excursia, Partea 1, is one of its most timeless and touching episodes, a gentle reminder that joy is not found in the destination, but in the company we keep along the way.